Hello everyone, this is Hoda Ganji. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can create a set of walls exactly on the surface of the topography. So I want to show you this project in Revit. This is basically just a topography, and this is the site. If I go with WT, I can put the two views side by side. And here in the site plan, you see that we actually have a property line. Right? So I want to have a set of walls along the property line. But if you draw some regular walls in Revit, it's not going to just exactly locate it on the topo, right? So I'm going to use Dynamo to take care of it. So in the site plan, I want to create a subregion. Subregion allows me to select a specific part of the topo surface. So I want to go with pick lines. I want to click on the property lines, and that's the region that I need. Okay, so I'm going to focus on only this part of the topo surface, and I want the walls to be around or along these lines. So I want to type TW, and maybe I can close that view. One view is enough, right? So first I want to get these lines, this curve in Dynamo. Then I'm going to create an adaptive family, and then I'm going to import it here and assign it to some points along the curves. So I have changed my units. It's on meters, 3 decimal places. I would suggest this because it works better in Dynamo. I'm going to open Dynamo under Manage tab. So let's open a new project. And in order to select an element which already exists in Revit, we need to go to the Revit menu, right? And in order to select it, we need to go to the selection menu under the Revit tab. And I want to select any item which is related to topography, right? So how about I go with all elements of categories, right? And in the drop-down menu here, I should be able to find topography. So let's go to T, it's alphabetical, topography. I'm gonna assign it to category. So now you see it's selected to topography. That's why I used subregion to separate that specific part of topography. You see, I don't see my objects in Dynamo yet, right? In order to see an element, which is a Revit element in Dynamo, I need to go with element.geometry, this one. As soon as you connect element to element, whether it's a curtain panel, a family, a topo surface, or anything, it's going to create that as an object in Dynamo. So how about I just maximize the screen here? The rest is going to happen in Dynamo for now. So let's see what we got. You see, it gives us a set of polycurves and a mesh, right? So first, I only want to go with the topo surface, which is inside the property line boundaries, right? So I want to go with the last item of the list. You see there are two lists here, so it's going to give me the second list. I'm going to connect the list to list dot last item. I can turn the preview off. So now you see we only have the part which is within the property lines, right? Next thing that I want is the surface itself. But unfortunately, it doesn't give us the surface, it gives us the mesh and polycurves, right? So I want to separate the mesh and work with that. That's basically our surface. So again, I want to go with last item of the list, which is the mesh here. I'm going to hide this one. And now you see we just got the mesh, right? So far, I just got the mesh out of topography because Dynamo does not give us a surface directly. So I have to get the mesh first. Now, how about I group these items? It's always good to keep your file organized. I'm gonna say mesh from topo. So this is what we have so far. Make sure to save your file. Now that it's a mesh, I want to go to geometry, and under geometry we actually have a menu for meshes. So let's see what we have under mesh here. We can actually get the vertex positions. That's good. So it's going to give us the points. So I'm going to keep this here. I'm going to connect the mesh to the points. So now you see it's going to give us all the points which are within that topo. Let's see what else we have. We also have face indices. So this is also very helpful. So I'm gonna move this here too. So the points are there. I also want to connect the mesh to the mesh input of the mesh.face indices. So the way it works is that mesh is usually made out of 3 points. So if I can separate those set of 3 points, I can create surfaces based on them, and finally I can get the surface. The reason I want to get a surface out of the mesh is that when I have a surface, I can get the surrounding, which is a curve, and then I can locate my walls and columns on those points. So that's the whole point, right? So it's going to give us an index group. If I right click, type index group, you see that we have A, B, C, D. So mesh is usually based on 3 sets of indices. So I want to go with A, B, and C, right? So I want to go with index group, A, B, and C, index group, C. So what does it do? Each time it's going to give us one set of the 3 basic corners of the mesh. But this is just the index, right? So what I can do is I have a list of points. So this is a list of points, so I can get items at the specific index of the point. So how about I go to list, under inspect, actually you're gonna find get item at index. That's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna need 3 of these because I have 3 indices, group A, B, and C. The same set of points goes to the list, and each time one of the list of indices that you see here goes to the index. So these set of points are gonna be 3 edges that will be a triangle, which is gonna be a surface. So in order to combine them as one single input, I'm gonna need a list create. I'm gonna go with 3 items, item 1, 2, and 3. And under geometry, under surfaces and under surface, you see that there is an option to create surface by perimeter points. Currently, if I connect this to this, it's not going to work. The reason is we have actually 3 lists and there are some points inside, but we need to actually reverse it so we have actually groups of 3 points at a time. So I want to go with transpose. Transpose basically sweeps the location of columns and rows. So this goes here. As soon as you do that, this list will change into groups of 3 points, which are the lowest value that we can assign to have surfaces, right? So now this is creating a number of surfaces, right? So you see these are very small surfaces each time, triangular surfaces. Now I would like to combine them all in one poly surface. So again, under geometry, under surfaces, I would like to go to poly surfaces, and I'm interested in by join surfaces. This is a very useful item because as soon as I connect surface to surfaces, it will all be one single surface. That's what I was looking for. Now let me hide some of these items because I know it can be confusing. We don't need to see any of these. We don't need to even see the points. I also want to hide the points here. Okay, now it's better, right? So how about I create a group? What we have till here is a poly surface. So poly surface from mesh. So we converted the mesh somehow to one single poly surface. Okay, save your file. Now that it's one single surface, I want to get the curve around this surface, right? So let's see what we have. So it's a poly surface, which is actually a kind of surface. So if I go back to geometry, surfaces and surface, if you scroll down, we can get the perimeter curves. So I want to connect the poly surface to perimeter curves, right? Now let's see what happened. It gives us 32 curves, right? That means if I click here, you see that there are very, very tiny little lines. So the surrounding, the perimeter of this surface is made of little broken lines. How about I hide the poly surface for now? I can also hide this mesh here. Okay, now if I just show you the labels for a second, you see we have a lot of different lines in different lengths, and that could be potentially a problem. So what I want to do eventually is that I want to divide the curves into equal lengths. How do we do that? It's a curve, the output. So I know I can go to geometry, curves, curve, and I would like to get the points at equal segment length. So let's say I just put a number, or I can assign an integer slider to the number of divisions, and I can connect curve to curve. Now you see, let's say if I put it on 5, it's going to divide each of those little lines into 5 pieces. But now because some of the lines are too small, this is going to be a problem. So I want to kind of merge some of those small lines. So now that we have a curve here, there is another interesting node. Under geometry, curves, polycurves actually, is gonna join some of the curves to make larger curves. So, and we have a join tolerance. I want to connect this one to this one. For now, let me move this to the end. And how about I pin this item and pin this item? So now you see we have 32 little lines, and we have 32 lines here because the tolerance is only 1 millimeter, 0.001. Now in this range of numbers, we're gonna need larger numbers. So maybe I can go with 1, for instance, 1 meter, assign it to join tolerance. And you see that 32, actually 32 pieces of small lines somehow joined to make 26 lines. So now if I divide this polycurve by different values, it's going to be more consistent regarding the distance in between them. So see if the original curve was connected and I had some divisions here, they were so irregular, right? But when I connect this one to the curve and then I increase the number slider, this is more reasonable regarding the curves that we have. Feel free to try different values here to see which value gives you a good option. Maybe I can go with 0.1 over there, and I'm thinking, let's see, something about 60 should be good. How about I go with 62 or 61? I'm gonna try a few numbers. 61 I like, it seems reasonable. So work with the number that you have assigned to joint tolerance and the division number to come up with a good set of points. Now, for the rest of this, I have two plans in mind. One of them is that I want to make an adaptive family and locate them on every and each of these points. So save your file. How about I close this file for now? And I want to go to the home page, open a family, a new family, English template, and I want to scroll down to go to metric generic model adaptive. Okay, how about I also save the Revit file and close it for now? Okay, so now I'm just going to make an adaptive family. I want to open reference plane, front view, and when the three views are open, I want to type WT to be able to see all three at the same time. So back to the shape that we had here, I want to create some kind of a towers here, and then I will have a consistent wall surrounding the perimeters. So for now, the family is going to be those towers, right? So here in the reference level, first I want to make a reference point. Okay, so reference point, click once here, then hit escape, select a point and make it adaptive, and it shows it as number 1. The reason I'm making an adaptive point is that that's how I can relate it to the points that I created in Dynamo right now. Now, in my front view, I would like to go with 2 reference plane, type RP, right? Actually, before I continue, I want to type UN, and I want to change the units of the family as well to meters, 3 decimal places. I feel a bit more comfortable with meters. And then I want to type RP in my front view, and I want to maybe kind of create another reference plane offsetted by some value, maybe 3 meters at the top here. And then I want to maybe make this a parameter, so if I change my mind later, I can easily change it in Revit. DI, okay, so get the dimension, hit escape, click on the dimension, and we can create parameter from the modify tab up here. I want to name this as height. I'll leave it on type, that's good. And actually, the shape that I have, I want to start it a little bit lower than this point, because if you have a sloped surface, some part of the wall is going to be outside the ground if you go exactly with this ground level. So I want to type RP, pick this line, and this time I want to assign a fixed number. I'm thinking 0.5 is good, but if your topography is too sloped, you can go with a different number. I want to type DI, and maybe I can lock this. Next, I want to click on the reference level. I want to type RP. Maybe I can create a few reference planes here. I want to pick these lines, offset them by 0.5 meter. Okay, and I want to set this plane at the bottom. So in the front view, I want to go with set, pick a plane, okay, pick this one, and it's going to take me to another level to work on. So I want to go to the reference level, open view. Now here I can model a square. Feel free to go with whatever profile that you have in mind. So I want to draw a square. It's not going to show it here, but that's okay. I can just hit escape, and in reference level, I want to type VR for view range. And I want to change the view depth to unlimited so I can actually see what's below. Now, if I click on this, I can just go to create form. I want to click on the front view, move this up, and lock it to the reference plane that we created. Right now, if I go to family types and click on this number, change it, let's say, to 3.5 meters or something, it's gonna update the height. If you want, you can also assign values to kind of the width and length here. That could also be a parameter, right? So I want to maybe delete this, reference planes. I just created them to create the profile here. And feel free to make it more interesting. For instance, if I go to the front view, set this one at the top. So I want to set this plane at the top and go to the reference plane. Maybe I can create a new set of lines here, offset that existing square but 0.05 or 5 centimeters. It's not showing it here, but it's okay, so we're there, right? Now I want to click on this and I want to create a form, and maybe I can extrude it by let's say 30 centimeters. So this is the top of that tower. So see that this interesting here. If I go to family types, change the height to 2.5 or something, because I had assigned that plane, it's gonna move the top with that plane. Okay, so this seems good to me. Save your family. I'm gonna save it as tower. I have a tower. I'll name it as tower 1. Under options, I want to change it to 1 backup. Okay and okay. And I just want to keep one view, so I want to go with TW, and I want to close inactive views. This is good enough. I will go back to my Revit and I will open the project that I was working on. Click on the family, load it into project. You can hit escape, it's just in the project. Now we know it's there. And later if you want to bring it back, it's under architecture component. Close the family, we don't need it anymore. And now I want to open Dynamo again. So I'll go to manage, Dynamo. I want to open the file that I was working on, which is topo, this file. So what I would like to do is that I would like to assign that family to each and every of those points, right? So how do I do that? I have a set of points here. Let me maximize the view here for a second. So how about I group these two nodes and I want to name them as origin of the towers or something like that. And I want to right click, type adaptive component by points, right? We're gonna load the family type. So if I bring a family type, it's gonna show the tower family that I created because I have loaded that into project. If you don't find this tower family, it means that you have not loaded that into project. Make sure to load it. And here is a good place to put this on manual, assign family type to family type, and assign point to point, and then hit run. You don't see it here, but now if I go to Revit and run this again, you see that those towers are created exactly actually from where we have the topography. If you remember, I assigned a negative 0.5, so it only goes lower than the surface by negative 0.5, and the reason I did that was because it's sloped too much. Part of that would have been outside if I didn't assign any negative values to the start. So that's what we have so far. You can play around, you can make it more interesting. Next thing I want to try is that maybe I'll also want to have a continuous wall in addition to those towers, right? So those polycurves that I have, which is, if I hide this one, that's the curve that we have over there. I want to maybe extrude it. So I want to go with extrude direction and distance. How about I put this on automatic for now? So if those tires are about, I think we assigned 3 meters or something. If you are not sure, you can click on it and you see the height is here. We assigned 2.5. Let's say to this wall, I want to assign 2 meters. So I want to assign 2 to maybe the distance. I can assign maybe this polycurve to curve, and the direction is going to be the z-axis. If it doesn't work, just assign a z-axis to the direction, but automatically it knows that we are looking for z. And then I can thicken this So let's go here. I can right click, type thicken. It's gonna be this one, and I can assign surface to surface, right? It seems okay. So now let's import this solid also into Revit. But before importing to Revit, I want to move it a little bit down, because as you see here, it might be a little bit above the topo, just the same as the columns, which we moved a little bit down the base of it. I want to assign move here, geometry dot translate. I want to move it maybe by -0.5 again, just like the columns. Assign it to the Z direction. Now I can hide this. I can hide this, and this one you don't see automatically in Revit, so I want to import it into Revit. How about I maximize here for a second? I'm gonna organize my screen a little bit. These two nodes here are responsible to create your tire family on points, on the origin points, and this item here will give you a continuous wall. So I want to create a group, and I want to name this as continuous wall in addition to the towers. And here we have the perimeter curve, so I also want to group this as perimeter curve. Okay, seems all good. Now the last step is just importing this one into Revit. I can right click, type import. Because this is only one geometry, it doesn't matter you go by geometry or by geometries. I'll go with by geometry. We should have only one single solid here. It's a good time to put this on manual, assign geometry to geometry, run it, check this in Revit. Basically in Revit 2022, things are imported in feet no matter what unit you assign. So select the object, go to edit type, change this to 0.3048, which is the conversion rate from feet to meters. Okay. And I want to close Dynamo file, save and close. So this is now what we have in Revit. You see we have a nice continuous wall, and we have the tires just above the surface. That's it for this video. Please like and subscribe for more videos. Thank you very much.